Okay. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on nonprofit board governance. Um, this session is being recorded. A link of the recording and a copy of the presentation slides will be emailed to everybody after the webinar. So please keep a lookout for that. Also, please keep yourself muted during the presentation just to avoid background noise. Also, feel free to use the chat box to share questions or comments. We'll have time for this during the presentation and during the Q&A at the end. If you run into any tech issues, please feel free to send me a message. So now I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Kamala. Dr. Kamala is a former professor of accounting and finance at the Texas Southern University. She holds a doctorate in accounting, and her credentials include a CPA, CFF, CGMA, and a CFP. She brings extensive experience from both academia and the banking industry, where she served as a senior vice president at the National City Corporation and comptroller at the First City Bank Corporation. She currently serves as the treasurer of the Fulbright Association and advises several nonprofit boards here in Houston. She is also a former Fulbright scholar from India and Sri Lanka. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Kamala Raghavan. So, Doctor, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy to meet you all virtually. And please feel free to put your questions as we go along. I usually have pretty interactive sessions, either on the chat or you can, if you want to, talk to me, you can. So we can just go ahead and make this worthwhile for all of us. And this is a topic that is quite near and dear to my heart. I have taught nonprofit, government, and nonprofit accounting and management at two or three universities. I've been a thesis advisor to graduate students in Pittsburgh, and also I have been involved in nonprofits of all sizes in three states now. And of course, as you know, I am the treasurer at this point for the National Fulbright Board and a Fulbright Association Board. So what I'm telling you now is basically it's from my own experience and also what I have been teaching to my students. So let me get started. This topic, of course, is the nonprofit board governance only, and nonprofits can be so many different sizes and shades and missions and etc. The basic nonprofit is that it has no shareholders, no profit to distribute, any kind of surplus, operating income, revenues over expenses. It stays in the business to help achieve its mission. If the nonprofit is closed, all the assets must be given to another nonprofit. It cannot go to any individuals or any other entity. The founder can be removed by the board. So that tells you the power and the authority of the board. The board of directors is in charge and held legally responsible. We are going to talk about the scope of this presentation is going to be 501c3. They can be so many different types. There are public charities, which we are going to talk about, like church, school, hospital, etc. They can be multiple shades and sizes. You can think about United Way. You can think about hospitals, etc. They can be all sizes. They can be all different types of service offerings, mission offerings, etc. And then they also can be private foundations. There are detailed rules for that, for specific test criteria. And I'm not going to go into that, but if anybody is interested in that, I'll be happy to talk to them. And of course, there are also other varieties of sub organizations. One of the organizations I was with had a profit-making entity as part of this, there were specific rules we had to follow for that. For example, I'll tell you, a church may have a kitchen that is wildly popular, makes a lot of money. How much is it of the total income? Decides what rules you follow. So there are rules for that. Both of these public and private foundations have tax exempt status under 501(c)(3) of the IRS. So it pays no tax on any positive operating income, and donors can claim charitable deduction. We live in Texas, so these are the rules. Texas state and corporation laws. You have the Form 202, and you have to have a minimum of 3 directors. Adopt bylaws. That's a given, and update periodically, because your mission, your activities can change. Conduct board meetings at least annually, and directors must comply with code of conduct standards. That's one thing I have seen with small organizations. They do not have a code of conduct. It is absolutely required here. Federal, for IRS Form 1023, report sources and uses of funds to IRS annually on 990, adopt written policies and procedures, and a few others. If you have donors who are giving large amounts, you need to be reporting it as part of Form 990. There is a simple form and an expanded form. So most people would probably be going into the simple one. And what I see now, I'm as part of my volunteering, I'm a mentor in an organization, and I see so many of my clients coming in and saying, "Oh, I want to start a nonprofit." Then my question usually is, why? What is the mission? Tell me about the need for this. So mission alone is not enough. I may be completely sold on the idea that this is a great thing, but mission alone is not enough. Governance has to be there, and that's what we are talking about today. Because they have a charitable purpose. It's public money, public service, and public money is involved. So it has to be governed properly. And just because the mission is great, does not guarantee its success. It is the governance is primary responsibility of the board of directors. So because they need to make sure that it is viable, it is sustainable, and it can safely achieve its charitable purpose. It must be managed well to survive, grow, and continue fulfilling its mission. A little bit later, I will talk about their safeguarding responsibilities. All of us know about nonprofits that have lost money because they did not have good internal control, good governance procedures. So it has to be managed well to survive, to grow, and continue fulfilling its mission as long as it's in existence. And please feel free, if you have a question, please let me know. What are all the things that are involved in the topic we are talking about? The board governance includes leadership and oversight by setting direction according to agreed bylaws. I will be talking about bylaws a little bit later. As I said in the previous slide, bylaws have to be written and agreed upon. But then that doesn't mean you cannot change as the organization is changing. So that's why it is setting direction according to agreed bylaws, making policy and strategy decisions, security of physical assets and data. We all know what type of environment we are in right now. A lot of fraud, lot of hacking, and others going on. So ensuring the security of physical assets and then the data of its donors is extremely critical. Donors or members, whoever we want to. monitoring the organizational performance, ensuring cybersecurity, fraud hygiene, and resilience, ensuring regulatory compliance, and that is the 990 and any other required reports, depending on the mission of this organization, and risk management. Extremely important. And I'll talk about it in a little bit more in a later slide. Risk management is becoming critical for nonprofits. You all have heard about the public libraries, schools, hospitals. They are being hacked by fraudsters because they have a lot of data that they can use. And to ensure the achievement of the organization's, again, the key public service mission. That's what we're talking about. And it is public money. Bylaws, as I said, these are typical bylaws. I'm not saying that this is it, but the organization should feel free to amend as needed. It should say minimum and maximum number of board members, what terms, groups, term limits. Most of them have term limits, either 3, 2, 3, or 6 years. Compensation of directors, usually not, because they are volunteers. Officer positions and responsibilities. These can include the executive director or a CEO and the staff. Board committees, really important. Have people looking at what's going on and manage and correct as needed. Minimum number of board meetings must be set. There should be quorum rules, procedure for calling special board meeting, removing a board member, what is the procedure? Conflict of interest policy. I think you all know about that one. If I have my own business and I sit on the board of an organization, what is my role? What is my responsibility as far as not channeling the business to my firm? Is it correct? Why was it done? Those are all under conflict of interest policy. Indemnification statement. What is my personal liability? And many of the organizations are going through lawsuits. So that means board members have to think about, what can I control? What can I not control? How do I protect myself and the organization? And then how do you amend the bylaws? Levy, can you tell me if there are any chats, please?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Okay. What are the basic duties? Because we are fiduciaries. When I say we, I have been in this sphere for so long that I always refer to it as we, because I've been in the nonprofit world, in the boards for a long time. My fiduciary duty is duty of care. Be attentive, diligent, thoughtful, make decisions that are informed and based on data. Don't make it based on just intuition, based on data and in good faith. Duty of loyalty. I have to look at the best interests of the organization at all times. And I already talked about conflicts of interest. Duty of obedience. Be true and support the organization's mission, bylaws, policies, any other rules governing board behavior. And as you know, this is mostly volunteer. So it's almost like you check your ego outside the door and you say, I'm here to serve. What are the basic responsibilities? And this comes from the source, Richard Ingram's board source in 2009. The 10, and these are pretty plain vanilla. All of you will know about these. So establish the mission vision, select the ED, support and evaluate the ED, ensure effective planning, strengthen programs and services, monitor, that is key. Just because you set up a program or a service doesn't mean it's always going to be there forever. Continue to monitor and revise as needed. Ensure adequate financial resources. Protect assets, provide financial oversight. Really, really important in today's world. Legal and ethical integrity, enhance the organization's public standing, build an effective board. Those are basic 10 responsibilities. We'll go through that a little bit deeper. What is a mission? What do I stand for? What does this organization stand for? Is it doing that today? Or if it is not doing some of the things, is it going to be? Is the mission statement easily understood and communicated? That's the key, because it's not just the writer of the mission. It has to be agreed upon and understood by the donors too, and anybody else, all stakeholders, regulators included. Is it measurable? Just because I believe that I'm going to do all these things doesn't mean that somebody else can understand it. It should be measurable. How do I measure it? Desired outcome. What do I want the results to be? And when do I measure? How do I measure? Is this correct? Somebody needs to be looking over those. And what is my vision? What am I striving to be? And what do I want to be in the future when I grow up? That this is the organization's responsibilities, and this is what the board will be looking at. And obviously, to do all that, the board is mostly volunteers, so they have to pick the executive director, who may or may not be a paid employee, but whoever that may be, it needs to be done by a search committee, by establishing a search committee, job description, what kind of competencies required. If it is public health related one, the ED should understand that environment. If it is a sustainability and green energy type of thing, then the ED should be understanding that. So there are lots of competencies required for the ED. Successful candidates should also have leadership skills in addition to program management and fundraising. Because, as I said earlier, this is public money and the responsibility is heavy on everybody's shoulders. Then, step three, support and evaluate the executive director. Just because we found a good person and install that person there doesn't mean our job is done. The board has to go in and clearly define what are the roles. Board has a responsibility. ED has to execute planning, management, implementation. Those are the ED's jobs. But it should be based on the picture, the overall picture that the board has set up. And then discuss what type of organizational decisions that can be made by the ED. And then there should be others that are approved by the board. I'll give you an example. In the organization I'm in right now, I have set up the financial policy. Anything over $5,000, I have to be involved, and there should be a second signature. That's just a basic thing, and it depends on the organization. If it is United Way, it could be 50,000. If it is a small one, it could be 500. It doesn't matter. It is specific to the organization. Board chair or president should provide feedback to the ED. This is performance evaluation. Board should conduct annual performance evaluation. Honest, sincere feedback is required, because this is, again, we have an obligation. As a board member, we have an obligation to protect the resources. Ensure effective planning. Board should insist the ED lead comprehensive organizational planning at least on an annual basis. And then as things change, as you know, politics can change the picture very quickly. So we need to be responsive to any types of changes that are going on, societal, political, legal, any of those. Annual budget and business plan should include the goals and objectives along with supporting financial projections. The board should participate in a multi-year strategic planning process. Do that for a long term, multi-year, but then review them on a short term based on what's going on out in the society, community, country, all of that. Program budgets and fundraising targets should be established at least quarterly. The board should review the organization's progress regarding where they are, what is their financial picture, are they doing what they said they would do. Performance metrics should not just be financial or operational, they should also be looking at the learning and innovation part of it, and then how well they are managing the resources. Monitor and strengthen programs, services, safety. Am I doing everything? Is the organization doing everything to match its mission? Are the fraud and cybersecurity hygiene processes? When I say cybersecurity hygiene, I'm talking about all these fraud, all these hacking going on. So if something happens, and if your members or your donors' data is compromised, do you have procedures in? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. I apologize.
It was background noise, but we
Oh,
do have
okay.
some questions in the chat. If you want me to go ahead and read those to you.
Yes, please.
Okay, we have from Dr. Anita. Hi, who is the code of conduct for the board employees? And where can I find an example template?
There are some templates or existing ones in many organizations' websites. And as you know, Dr. Anita, I mean, code of conduct is for everyone who is involved in the management of a public entity, and you can find them in some of the associations that these organizations belong to. They also give you sample code of conduct. It's never exactly the same as any one organization needs, but you can always take that and then modify it. And if you have any further questions, I'll be happy to send you a sample.
And then we also have, do you have a template for bylaws to share?
For the what? I'm sorry.
Do you have a template for bylaws to share?
And no, I don't. But as I said, I have. That's why I have listed everything in that slide. So the bylaws should have this, this, and this. And but there are also some templates that are being used by existing nonprofits. And as I said, the associations, the nonprofit organizations belong to, have got a ton of resources on their websites too, depending on the type of organization you are with. So, and again, my answer is if you need me to give you a sample, I'll be happy to do that.
That's it for
Any
now.
Okay, all right. Monitor and strengthen program services and safety. Again, this is fundamental to any management. You cannot just set up something and then say I'm done. So this is what data, what information should I have to assess the effectiveness of the organization's programs and services? Am I doing everything? Current activities, are they matching my mission, what I said I was about? And then, does it have adequate insurance? Really, really key in today's world. The organizations I'm involved in all have fraud insurance because we don't want to be caught flat-footed if something happens. We want to have our resilience procedures in place before anything happens. It is an expense, but it is needed in today's world. Is there a process in place for obtaining feedback from those who are served by the organization? This is a topic near and dear to my heart. Always find out what your stakeholders think, what they need, even if some of it is not really necessary for you. But please, as a board member, you need to know what the stakeholders are thinking. Am I serving them correctly? And what do I need to do if there is a legitimate need for something? And again, you know that I come from the financial world, so it is important for me to ensure adequate financial resources. How is the organization performing? Especially in today's world, as you know, a lot of funding sources have been cut off. So, operational revenue, private contributions, grants, government or foundation grants, all of those are lifeblood for any nonprofit. How is it doing? Is it doing everything it can? If one goes down, can you manage with the other? Can you somehow increase the other? And then, what are your trends? Is how is your revenue? How is your expense? What is going up? Why? How? What can you do? Do board members have financial management knowledge and skills to guide the organization? Is the board actively involved in fundraising? Are policies and procedures established and followed? Again, this is part of your internal control responsibilities. Are the internal control practices documented? Are they monitored? Are you looking at them? Are board members in communication with internal and external auditors? These are all fundamental to the responsibilities of the board for financial management. Next one, protect assets. And I've been saying this over and over. In today's world, that is really important. The board has a fiduciary responsibility and monitor the cash reserve. Make sure that you're not going to be having issues without thinking about it ahead of time. Periodic risk assessment. What are our risks? Who can get into our data? Who can get into our processes? What are weaknesses, impediments that can prevent the organization from operating effectively and provide timely financial reporting? And as I said, adequate cash reserves, that is up to the organization. In the organizations I am with, I usually try to make it 3 to 6 months of operating expenses, if I can, because that gives me a good cushion to go forward. And then also complying with applicable laws and regulations. Next one, have a board finance or audit/audit committee where one member, this is a Sarbanes-Oxley requirement for the for-profit, and now it's coming to the nonprofit also. Have one member who is responsible in systems and financial reporting. Ensure legal and ethical integrity. Board should be familiar with local, state, and federal laws for nonprofits. They have to confirm compliance. Insist on a general culture of transparency and accountability. This is especially important because it is public entity. Enhance the organizations. I don't have to tell you about this. You all know about this. Have we told people what we are about? Its mission, achievements to date, its goals. Is there a communication process? Does it have, especially today, it's no longer print, it's actually digital marketing. So, do you have all that to reach current and potential donors? If you don't have it in house, can you get it? Can you contract for it, etc., etc.? These are all strategic decisions. Build an effective board. That's the last step. Board governance responsibilities should be clearly understood. ED and staff must have clearly defined roles, work well together. And I have been involved in organizations where they're at loggerheads sometimes, and then the board has to step in, understands, effectively executes full scope of its responsibilities, including fiduciaries, size of the board, don't make it too big or too small, and rigorous nomination process should be there to fill vacancies. The board is empowered to hire a paid executive. These are according to your bylaws, of course. The board has to review the organization's finances at least quarterly to ensure sustainability. I cannot emphasize this one more. At least quarterly to ensure sustainability. And it also needs to do a periodic review of the technology and the infrastructure. Board periodically evaluates, of course, the ED and the performance of the staff also. And anything to do with their salary adjustments, etc., should be okayed by the board. We have talked about all this. What is happening? What are the best practices today? Ensure that the board has strong internal controls that safeguard assets, timely and accurate financial reporting. Ensure that nonprofit has got a good evaluation system for measuring and reporting the impact of each of its programs and services. This is important. I said I was going to do all these things. This is my mission, so I'm going to offer this service and this program. But you cannot just say, okay, I'm done. This measuring and reporting the impact is key because that's how we govern and say if this is not working as intended, maybe we need to revise it or maybe we need to just delete it. And then it's that information can be used for reporting to donors, regulators, and stakeholders because this is just management, good management. Ensure that the nonprofit has got a robust fundraising plan, which are the activities and goals are tied to the annual spending budget. This is again another important duty for the board. If I'm going to do a fundraising, how does it relate to what I'm saying I'm going to do, what I have done, and then how am I going to tell the people who gave me the money how I did? So these are best practices, and you will see that in many well-performing nonprofits how they are reporting. Ensure that it participates with a multi-year planning process. It's not enough just to do 1 year or just 6 months. Multi-year, maybe at least 2 years. At least usually they do 5 years, but 2 years is enough, so that we can look at what we call the SWOT: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What are the internal and external conditions? This is again really critical in a situation like we have right now. The two organizations I'm in, we have had sessions to understand what's going on, where are we, what is happening to our funds, what is happening to the programs, and how are we going to continue, which ones are we going to continue, internal and external conditions. Reconfirms or revises the nonprofit's mission, approves the overall strategic plan, and then do a quarterly review and make the adjustments. Establish board committees. If you have 15, 21, or however many board members, go ahead and divvy up the work because you have to nominate, you have to govern, you have finance, audit, programs, operations, fundraising or marketing, risk and audit, strategic planning once in a while. So all of these, you need to have some division of responsibilities. So if at all possible, please delegate it to subcommittees. We've talked a lot about the responsibilities and how to do it, what the best practices. Let's talk about what is the composition? What do they have to do? Board members must have a broad variety of fields of practice and expertise because it's not easy. You cannot, I don't know everything, so I need somebody else to support me on some other areas. So we need functional and program content related expertise. Individual board member and the board must have a collective commitment to achieving the mission and vision. The board members must have a track record of understanding, learning about the organization. This is not just coming in and having a meeting, quarterly meeting, and go, because these are responsibilities that have to be taken seriously. Otherwise, it can be a problem for the board. Board members prepare for and understand all scheduled board meetings and committee meetings. This is just a sample from some organizations. So usually it's like I will do this, I will do this at a minimum. This is not maximum. This is minimum. So I will attend board meetings. I will serve on one committee. Be knowledgeable about this. Keep abreast of regulations. I'm not going to bore you with this, but this is specific to the organization. But this is just a sample. I just included that. Any questions until now?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kamala, for your time and guidance today. My question is, if you're a new nonprofit and you're looking to gain, a structure and learn, come as a humble learner with and partner with other bigger mission aligned organizations, how do you approach them to let them know I'm just here for learning experience, mentorship, not trying to, breach on anything that you're doing because I know some organizations have data that they want to protect. So how do we approach the collaborative discussion, dialogue?
May I have your name, please? Your first name?
Yes, Elisa.
Liz. Okay. Hi, Lisa. Yes, I have some clients exactly like you were talking about. Okay, and it is very difficult because everybody is busy, and the established nonprofits are not always that nurturing about it. So organizations like ESCH and Scope have mentors who can guide the new nonprofit. And that's why when I say my clients, that's what I'm doing. And so find resources that can help you, guide you, who have been there, done that. But it is really difficult to go to a major good performing nonprofit and get their help. If you find one, you are really lucky.
I
But
hope
there
to
are
find one.
resources. Yeah, there are resources, no question about it. So don't get discouraged. There are organizations, as I said, ESCH, the SCORE work with the mentors work with the clients, and they're all volunteers. They just want to give back.
Thank you, Dr. Kamala. I am part of the SCORE, cohort, but my mentors just keep telling me try to partner. So I've kind of been in that challenge, but I'll let the session continue. So thank you so much.
Okay, and you can reach me. I'm on. You can. I'm part of SCORE. Let me. Yeah, let me think about it. Okay, but I know what you're saying. But we will try to help from SCORE. We will certainly try to help.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, what are the ongoing ones? There are some things that you do. You just go through. But then, what are your ongoing responsibilities as a board member? Mission and strategy. Make sure that that the mission that you first established is still the same. Is the organization doing what it said it would do? This is your primary responsibility of oversight. Participate in strategic planning and monitor the progress. Financial, I have said it over and over, financial is really key. And then legal and ethical compliance. Compliance with laws and ethical standards, enforce policies, make sure that you have all the regulatory forms and reports filed properly and correctly. And don't underestimate the problems that can happen if you don't. So please make sure that you do. And I'm not giving out any sensitive information, but I had a client who said my reports were my. I mean, it wasn't her fault, but it was somebody didn't file her regulatory reports, and and it was not pretty. So be careful. It's the board's responsibility. The board can be held liable for this. Executive oversight. Hire, but also evaluate. the ED, the administrator. It can be called ED, it can be called CEO, it can be called officer, doesn't matter, but the person who is the administrator. And also, more important is also make sure you have a succession plan. Because if this person takes a job outside and leaves you, you are really in a big mess. So make sure that you have a succession plan which is working well. Board development, recruit members with what kind of skills you need, conduct assessments and trainings. What about fundraising? Obviously, I have been being saying this over and over. Make sure you have enough operating reserves. You have adequate financial resources. If there is a downturn in the market or in the funding, make sure you can survive. And then also be an ambassador for the organization to the community. Articulate mission, monitor progress, and develop and monitor fundraising and investment efforts. When you have some money, this is another one I should mention. Once you are established for a while, you may have some monies saved, some operating income that is sitting there. Don't let it sit there without earning anything. Make sure that you have some kind of investment based on your operating needs, so that whether it is in a money market account or something. But I'm sure you will have a lot of ideas from whoever is on your finance committee. So make sure that you get some return for monies that you have saved. Do performance reviews, and we have talked about most of those. Support advocacy efforts for the mission and promote to the community, because you are all part of the community. So you have deep roots. You can do a lot with reaching out to the community. Any questions so far for the ongoing responsibilities? Okay, establish a nominations and governance committee, because this is a long process. It's not easy to find good people who want to serve, who can put in the time. So have a nominations committee and make sure that they've check all the boxes that you want, and then you have a governance. Usually, it's nominations and government governance committee. Total board experience and expertise profile should be developed based on the mission, opportunities, etc. Document the experience and expertise, so that if anybody comes and you can tell them, see how good we have, what kind of mix of skills that we have in our board. So it's good. And at the same time, understand that you may have some gaps, and those can be filled by volunteers or outside contractors. Develop and plan for filling highest priority gaps. If you find a gap that absolutely you need with the board expertise, you can bring a new member with desired expertise, and do an orientation process and have a manual for the new directors. Assess total board and individual director performance. Same as what we talked about for the administrator. We need to have that for the board too, even though they're volunteers. And then people who don't care, they don't attend meetings, they don't do anything. Why do you need them? So you have to think about that too. The rest of the board has to think about it, because this is not just coming in and having lunch and going away. This is an important responsibility that board is taking up. Written policies and procedures, these are at a minimum. Conflict of interest policy, whistleblower policy, people who report misconduct or ethical violations should not be punished, and also document retention and destruction policy. These three you will find if you go to any of the major organizations, you will find that in their website. Or, as I said, go to the association where this organization belongs to and look for these. You will find them all over the place. More agreed upon code of conduct. This is not one person's thing, and the board should approve, accept the code of conduct. And then we've already talked about minimum number of meetings, confidentiality of sensitive information, performance review, etc. And then set up oversight committees. This is something I referred to before. These committees will have procedures for staff compensation, expenses, finance and budget, investments. Gift acceptance is a big thing for nonprofits. Okay, we're including restricted gifts. What do I mean by restricted gifts? And I know of a city that and I cannot tell you which one, but they got a grant from a donor, one-time grant, and the donor said, "You can only." But I'm appalled at this stadium that did not have good lighting. I'm going to give you this money. You can only use it for replacing lighting in the stadium. That's it. Do not use it for anything else. That's a restricted gift. And then you have to track it and make sure that the donor knows that you have really adhered to his or her restrictions. And then you have joint ventures. You can act as a joint venture partner with other organizations in the same environment that you are. Any questions on the policies and procedures? All right. Board oversight, this is just a wrap up. State organizational mission vision, identify the strategic objectives. Stakeholder satisfaction it should be high on the list. Financial stewardship, obviously, I have said it repeatedly. And next thing is internal process efficiencies. Just because it's a nonprofit doesn't mean you can just ignore the efficiencies. Process efficiencies will help a lot to bring in good, solid, positive operating income. So you may need to have people looking at how the processes are done. Are there efficiencies that can be wrung out of the processes? And how much does you have to do a cost benefit analysis, of course. Meaning how much is it going to cost, how much can I get from this, and then also innovation and growth. Let me just mention a couple of things that are going on in the innovation sphere right now. All of you know about Gen AI, all of you know about data analytics. All of those things are going to be helping with process efficiencies, but they also help you with innovation and growth. So it is technology, but it helps you with innovation and growth. So that you may want to think about that. And the relevant metrics, targets, and benchmarks, please select them ahead of time and stick to them. Monitor and report progress. Adjust, refine targets and metrics as needed. This is just a checklist. It's not comprehensive. It's not the only one. The organization needs to do something for itself. So board meeting calendar, bylaws review, strategic plan review, document retention, self-assessment, administrative evaluation, etc., etc. I have talked about it in the slides previously. This is just a summary and how to develop a schedule for it. As you know, we're all human. I have the same problem. I tell somebody I will do something, but if I don't set up a schedule or say there is a time for it, I may not remember. So it needs to develop a schedule and stick to it. Internal control, again, a topic that is near and dear to all of us. Provide reliable financial reporting.
To relax.
Sorry? Okay, what is internal control? System of policies, procedures, practices designed to provide management with reasonable assurance goals and objectives are met. So for that, you need at least these. Provide reliable financial reporting, safeguard the assets and records, adherence to prescribed policies, compliance with regulatory rules, and operational efficiency and effectiveness. Any questions on this one? What kind of checklist? We said these are all good, these are all needed. What kind of checklist can you have? Is a clear understanding of the responsibilities of the board as well for financial management? Does it have a treasurer position or a finance position? Has it established a finance or audit committee? Whoever has financial management responsibilities, do they know what they're doing? Do they have appropriate level of financial expertise? And many times I've found this to be a problem. Does the organization have procedures about dealing with cybersecurity and data resilience? When I talk about resilience, it's a given in today's world. Somebody will try to breach. What happens after that is the question. Do you have procedures, policies? And there are lots of models out there that you can take. Decision tree. Who do you call? What do you do? When do you do? How do you do? And then contingency planning. What happens if you cannot operate for a little while? What is your contingency planning? Has the board established policies that set a tone of ethics, fiscal responsibility, and compliance? Are internal controls in place so that if you have errors in accounting and finance reporting, fraud, theft, what are you going to do? Is there adequate level of segregation of duties? This is a problem with many small organizations, small nonprofits, because they have few people. So they say, "Oh, my accounts payable person is also doing my check reconciliation or something like that." No, you need to think about it. Make sure that you're not providing an opportunity for something that is an attraction for someone. So make sure that you have segregation of duties. If someone is handling cash, bank reconciliations, payments, etc., make sure that you are looking at the flow and so there is a check and a balance. Has the board authorized annual financial review or audit to be conducted by an independent CPA? This is for established ones, may not be for a starting one, but established one. But at least you should have the financial reports ready for review. That concludes the presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions now or later.
I have another question, Dr. Kamala, if I may.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
With my organization, I do plan to implement advanced research based off the mission that we have. How does an organization implement that research part of it?
When you say research, can you tell me a little bit more?
Yes. So my nonprofit assists with cleft babies who have the cleft cranial facial conditions,
Uh-huh.
and I know it's an underserved area. My son has a cleft, so that's kind of led me down this way. Um, and I'd like to implement the research part. I know Smile Train,
Yeah.
Operation Smiles have all these. So how do I implement my own?
When you say you want to implement my own, are you talking about the medical research? Or are you talking about the factors that lead to the cleft? Which one?
Medical research for better solutions, treatment
Okay.
solutions. Yes.
Okay. So have you talked to any of the local hospitals that do this, and they may already be having an effort?
When I do present myself, I'm also a medical device inventor, the first in the world for this. So they get more away from the nonprofit and then start focusing on the medical device. So it kind of gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So you're actually looking at it's not non-medical, but it is related to medical, but more in the equipment and things to do with the care with the yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Uh we may need to have an offline conversation.
I would appreciate that. Thank you for the
Sure,
invitation.
because yours is a little different from the straightforward thing, but it is a very worthwhile a cause, no question about it. There are lots of kids around the world are suffering from it, and but it's unfortunate that we cannot just marry the medical research and what they are trying to do with some of the other things, because education and funding and all that, it would be ideal. But I know, I know it's. I've had that happen to another client. Yeah. So you have my email. Please feel free to reach out.
Dr. Kamala, I don't have your email. Is it in the slides?
Um, Levy, can we put my email on the slide, please, afterwards when you send it?
Yeah, I would also include it in the email I send with the recording and the presentation.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kamala, for the invitation. I look forward to speaking with you after.
Sure, absolutely. Anything I can do to help.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for me?
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I noticed a lot of the content might have addressed maybe some a mixture of needs for both smaller and larger organizations, especially when it comes to regulatory. What advice would you give of kind of narrowing down? Okay, we kind of fit in the maybe smaller side, so really the urgency might be focused on a small segment versus kind of when we get to maybe a larger size, we can maybe promote urgency on other segments. I think that was maybe a little bit more of the challenging of like what is the most urgent for a small organization versus what's the most urgent for a large organization.
I'm not addressing really large organizations in this presentation because there are so many varieties of things that come up. But the smaller organizations, unless you are just a fledgling starting organization, the requirements are going to be the same because you want to grow your organization. You want to help out carry out your mission, etc. So for that, it becomes really necessary for you to have these things that I was highlighting in this: your controls, your internal control, your financial controls, your operational expertise, showing to your funders, your donors, your community how you are accomplishing your mission. Those are critical for your growth. So you need to have a way of presentation for that, because if I'm a donor and I'm giving money to an organization, I want to know what it did. So even if you are a small organization, in fact, it's critical for a small and medium organization, to be upfront, do the reporting, talk to people. This is what we did with your money. See how well it did, how much of benefit it brought to the community. It is really, really important. So please do what you can to show them what you're about and what you have been able to accomplish, even though you are small. Am I making sense?
Yes, I think so. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Thank you all for attending. And as I said, I have Levy will be putting my email there, and you feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do what I can to help. And please go to the associations where your organization belongs. They have most of these templates for you, so please use them. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, they're already there. And many people want to help nonprofits. So please go ahead and do it, and consider me a resource too. So thank you all. I appreciate your time.
All right. Please
Thank
look out
you.
for, oh, sorry. Please be looking out for the email I will be sending shortly. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.